We are now going to look at page number. So on page 4, we start with Sam at the door. And this is where the screwdriver, so controlled at first, and then the scratches as he starts to kind of open the door with that. And we got a close up of the metal scrapings, the paint, the wood, the tiny curls of material coming off. Sam tries the knob again in panel 3. Nothing, starting to get angry. And then in panel 4, Sam strikes the door, full on axe murderer, but really frantic. In panel 5, the door surface now is scarred. Like you can see it's been scuffed by Sam. Sam's messier, tired eyes. The plant is completely drooping down. Panel 6, Sam slumps against the wall, and the door is huge in comparison.
Going back to what I was just saying with 3B in the last panel here, where Sam's almost like, like starting to like emotionally be almost their energy, like the door has become an energy vampire and is drawing out all of
Yeah.
Sam's will to live.
Yeah.
Are we continuing that theme with 4B where the energy in 4A seems more up? Do we want to make it more like Sam is sickly, or do we want to stay the course where we were with 3A's last panel?
I almost see Sam as a bit of an injured animal, right? Like you back them into the corner, they give up, they do this, and then they have that one last like I'm going to try and claw you up kind of feeling, and it almost feels like that's kind of where Sam goes with the screwdriver.
So 4A panel 1 showing the screwdriver at the door, and then we're
Yeah.
showing a close up of all that paint. It's almost a little bit of a redundancy. So maybe
Yeah.
what we have here is, instead of that, we've got an upshot of Sam grabbing the screwdriver, right? So we maybe like kind of like a la The Ring, where we don't see their
Hmm.
face so much. It's like partially blocking their face, so that their state of mind isn't necessarily like, we're not seeing them like energy, like big energy. We're seeing them in a frantic state, right? So you're
Yeah.
not seeing their face completely. The hair is kind of taking over. So it's almost like a wild type of franticness here. And then we can do that close up of they're jamming the screwdriver. So maybe a super close up of the screwdriver being jammed in to the door.
Uh-huh.
And we can see where the keyhole would be. They're just like jamming it in there as opposed to scraping at the door. It's more being used as a key, right? You can have like a bit of a screwy type of,
Yeah, it's almost like that nail on a chalkboard type of sound where it's like trying to
mhm,
like
like it's yeah, that kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, that really
You
off-putting
can,
sound.
yeah. And then, and again, the panels, now that I'm thinking about the energy,
Uh-huh.
having, I could even have like the screwdriver like popping out in this panel here, and having each subsequent panel kind of like slightly trapezoidal shape.
Yeah.
So then panel 3, where they're trying to, it's still not working. Maybe, oh, I know, maybe it's snapping instead of like pulling at the door again. Maybe it snaps, like the screwdriver snaps.
Yeah, because
Because
especially if they jammed it into the keyhole in this scenario, then it's almost like we think you're gonna get it in, right? Like you think it's gonna open and instead the screwdriver breaks.
we still get to panel 4 with them going, ah, right?
Yeah.
But and what changes with this one is that the door is almost like superhuman, right? At this
Yes.
point,
And I feel like too at the screwdriver, like scraping at the door is one thing, but like to really be like jamming it into the keyhole, like really pushing it in there, being like, this is it. Like you almost, especially if it gets in and there's almost that moment of, did I do it? And then it breaks, right? And then
yeah,
that causes him to go even more insane because it was like, I was so close, which is kind of the feeling of the next one, right?
yeah, and actually, um, I really can't say that this one, there's anything wrong with that panel. If I,
No,
it's a
I
great,
mean, that's a great energy. And it works no matter whether we were doing the scraping or the broken screwdriver in the keyhole, the reaction is the same. In fact, I think the reaction even more fits that, like banging on the door after being like so close, like it's in, goes to turn it and it breaks.
yeah,
Like that's going to make him crazy.
yeah, exactly. So pretty much just drawing the same thing. If anything, I'm just trying to make it a little bit more like frenetic. Just trying to get across like how absurdly this character. I mean, it's a door for God's sake, but it's driving him nuts. Like that's the part of this that um
Yeah. It's something
like.
that you would think most people could just ignore, right? There's a
Mhm,
door. I don't know why it's here. Weird, but moving on with my life. But Sam was the right kind of person to be completely sucked into this. And maybe the door
mhm.
knew that. That's why the door chose Sam.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, are we all Sam? Would
Exactly.
we would we actually act the same way? Like, would it drive us crazy? Because having like being gaslit in a way
Mhm.
where uh that not only is like your landlord telling you it doesn't exist, not only are you researching it and like all of the old records telling you it's not exist, uh,
Yeah.
but your eyes are telling you it's there. And so
Well,
like
that's exactly it. And that's the thing. It's like, do I really see it? And then it's almost like when the fact that like the screwdriver goes in the keyhole, that's also an aha, like this is real. This is actually a door. Like, oh my God. Like I actually am in the keyhole of the door and then have it break. It's like, you're not getting through though. And yeah, I mean, you would think if you were in that situation, how far would it drive you to completely lose it? Because the world is gaslighting you essentially, just like you said.
So I'm doing a little like a dialogue balloon here. Come
Uh-huh.
on. Yes. Yes. No. Right.
Yeah,
And then you could
exactly,
have
because that's exactly what it is. It's like that almost that moment of satisfaction, like, "I did it," and it's like, "You did not."
mhm. And I'm thinking too, like there was this negative space here right
Mhm.
above like Sam's knocking on the door, and I in both of them I had like all this space right here. I'm thinking you could have like no, 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 like just
Yeah,
repeated over and over, right? Using the sound effect in a way that's really drives that feeling of like despair and anger and all that
yeah,
stuff that Sam's feeling, right? Um,
I
and
like
I
that a
could
lot
even make it an open panel so that it's going right to the edge of the page there,
because I
right?
feel
So
like that
that
is also, to a reader, like, it's disturbing in a good
mhm.
way because of what we're trying to achieve here.
Now, something about this next panel where they're standing in front of the door, I almost now imagine that they're standing in front of the door. They're just roaring. Like that's what I see when
Mhm,
I look at this. I'm almost thinking I'm going to just copy this. Like this, there's just something about that that just really works for me. Like I could try to replicate it like I did with the previous panel. Uh, but there's something about a gesture that when you draw it, it's really hard to replicate the energy sometimes.
mhm,
And so if you can keep as much of it as possible, do it. Right. So
yeah,
in this case,
agreed.
the thing about it, I think I'm going to like make it more like their hands are like balled out, like ah,
Yeah,
right
it
there. This,
definitely has that immediate like, you could just see, like, the roar, right? Like, that is just like that flea, like, "Ah, ah, ah," like, the neighbors would be pounding on the door telling him to shut up kind of a roar.
yeah, and so you can have like "Arr," or something,
Yeah.
right? Just like
Yeah, it's definitely got a vibe.
yeah. So now I think with this one we're leaning into some of the sound effects a little bit more, just
Yeah.
because it's a very animalistic guttural. The words aren't sufficient to convey the emotional
I
state.
don't think he's
It's
got the words to convey that anymore, right? Like, it's
right.
almost like at this point, he can't put that thought together, and if you look at 3 and 4 next to each other, like we had talked about of the emotions of each page originally, you can see such a change from that page to the next page, right? Where it's like that wounded animal, "I give up. I'm listening. Are you there?" to a complete about face of like, "I've got my last oomph in me. Let's see what I can do." Um, and I think that's actually really working for us, that you are seeing this emotional roller coaster that Sam's going through from panel to panel, but from page to page, huge changes are happening because of how unstable Sam currently is.
Hmm. Let me ask you about. I do like the last panel as well, but
Mhm.
is there a world where Sam is now like leaning on the door, almost like like this, like almost like after this roar, now there's like just complete utter like I've given up, right? So there's
Yeah, there's something to that too, like, it's almost like the roar let out the last bit of oomph Sam had left, and then
mhm,
it's almost like the stages of grief or whatever, now it's almost like,
mhm,
you've gone to the next one where now you're just like, "Just take me with you," right? Like, it's almost like a prayer kind of at this point, like, "Please, God, just do whatever you need to do to get me out of this." It's
mhm.
there's something to just going from a complete, like, scream, yell, "Ah," to done, and having that happen from one panel to the next, I think is also really powerful.
Yeah. So I'm not sure which one I like more, but this one feels I just want to see what this one feels like where you
Yeah.
actually have their kind of leaning or I'm not sure if it's like over the shoulder or something tells me maybe it could be that one or it's more of a upshot. Let me see. So almost like you're looking up. I'm not sure. It's hard. It's kind of a I think this is one of those ones where you can kind of um play around with
Mhm.
different
Well, every different angle gives a slightly different feeling, right? In terms of how Sam looks, how big he looks, how big the door looks. I agree. I think that there's a few different ways because the original one did work really well with the door looking absolutely huge and Sam looking small. Um, but there is something to changing Sam's position to more of that like giving in after their last burst of energy.
just even wondering like if you're looking at the side of the door so it's almost like you can only see really the side of the door at this point. I don't know. There's all different
It feels
possibilities.
like there's something like Sam and the door have almost become one at that moment,
Mhm.
um, which is interesting too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to we'll see what happens with the next page because that
Yeah.
will kind of inform like what could be the possibility for this. Like I would potentially you can go back and actually you could still make the door super large
Because
in comparison.
I did like that the door seemed to grow even though it didn't, because Sam
Mhm.
in and of themselves shrunk, right?
Yeah. But you could always do that. You can always play with that again with a future
100%.
panel.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It's one of those things where um I may keep on playing around with it. Because then if I were to go back to let's see, go back to the original one. Because what I think one of the things that kinda we have this rage and then there's all of a sudden right after that panel, they're on the ground, and so we're
Yeah.
missing something there. Now, is it necessary to show what happens in between? I don't know, right? But
Mhm.
something about it tells me, like, I almost wanna see that kind of because in the next page, we're gonna have, I can actually I'll show it because I did bring it up here. So now we have Sam kind of in that fetal position, right? Um, and so, and that's similar to what we did with 3B, right? That same position. So is it do we wanna replicate that again in that same way? Or is there maybe we have like, more of a slumped effect here, uh, as opposed to a fetal position here, right? Because I'm wondering too if we could if the same thing would happen with that clicking sound,
Mhm.
right? Even if they're
Mhm.
against the door, you can still hear a click,
Yep.
right? So it doesn't change it per se. So I'm wondering if we would want to have that in between so that we have something like this one back here. This is all problem solving, right? There's like no
I think
100%
the
right
thing is there's
answer.
no right or wrong answer. It's just what
Hmm.
feels the most correct for what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, because I almost feel like this intense stage and then what we're going to get to page 5 and again
Mhm.
I'm thinking maybe we will make it potentially sitting in or a different position in the fetal position, right? So with
Mhm.
this here, like what could be or it could even be like Oh, okay. Here's another possibility that just came to me, and I could
Mhm.
always make it like use the we can actually use
Oh.
the right,
Mhm.
so we don't even actually see the door.
Yeah, the
Right?
door
That's
is
a
now the actual page.
mm-hmm.
I
Now
like that.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
You
because
can
there's a
have
couple
them,
panels now where we don't see the door even though the door is there. Um, Actually, I really like that.
yeah, because we have them again, sound effects.
Mhm.
Yeah, there we go. I think something
That
like
might be the
that.
most interesting option just because it is different to anything we've seen before, right? So we're really pushing Sam over the edge now.
Yeah, I think that just going with the theme of like the sound effects being part of the imagery, where we have the no, 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 we can have the
Yeah.
huff, 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 huff here, right? And so, um,
And I like that because really Sam has gone from being very kind of, well spoken and put together to animal sounds essentially at this point
mm,
because they've just lost all their composure completely.
yeah, exactly. So, um, this is what happens. You have when you're working at this size and at this speed, you have the ability to problem solve at a
Mhm.
much faster pace that allows for you to pivot from an idea. Ultimately, you need to be okay with changing something so that you don't feel like you've committed to putting in all this time and effort into like one particular image. And that's the important thing that we're able to do here is that at this size and having you here really to play off of ideas
Mhm.
allows for me to go, is this working? I don't know. What do you think? And you're like, well, the changes it a bit, but I don't know if I like it how it's changed. And okay, let me try it again. And now we're problem solving together.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thank you.